Hi, Homeworthy. I'm William Hutton. Welcome to our apartment in Whitley Heights. Come on in.
This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm William Hutton. I'm an interior designer, and welcome to our 540 square foot apartment in Whitley Heights. My husband and I lived in New York, and then we moved here about 3 years ago. We drove across country for his job, and we've been sort of making this space our own since we moved in. This apartment was built in 1924, so it's just over 100 years old. The character of this house really drew us. Being from the East Coast in New York City, a lot of the apartments are just white boxes. So the fireplace, the arch ceiling, and the windows really drew our attention. We actually got this apartment sight unseen. Luckily it worked out. Hi, welcome to our main space of our home. This is the living room / office. And we'll start in the office where my husband usually works from home. We got this cool steel and marble desk from CB2. And we paired it with a dining chair that's not really meant for an office, but the aesthetics worked in here. It's set on top of this vintage Swedish rug that I found on an auction, and I paid like 1/10 of what it's worth. And we paired that with this cheap and cheerful cabinet from IKEA. It displays most of our art books and some of my husband's reference books for his work, and some little brass figures and things we've collected. Next to that, we have this Tito Agnoli chair that I found in a small antique store in Santa Barbara. It sort of blends different aesthetics in this room, not so modern, but a little bit mid-century. The curtains we added, we had them from our last apartment. Ideally, as designers, we'd like to have them a little higher, but budget conscious. This is a great solution, and they work really well with the paint color we selected, and I think the velvet trim on them really adds like a nice finished detail. The sconces, they were here. We just swapped out the shades for these cool handmade woven sconce shades with a scallop detail. Now we'll go to the main living space. This is the sofa where we spend most of our time. We got this at CB2 as well. It has a definite mid-century aesthetic, sort of inspired by Milo Bauman. And this was the first thing we bought when we moved here. And just because we needed a place to sit and we didn't have any other furniture. And we paired that with this huge scaled marble coffee table. It's in the Maitland style that we got on Facebook Marketplace. We were a little worried about the scale, but it sort of works well with the size of the sofa and kind of grounds the room. We have a bunch of art books, various artists in interior design books, paired with a lot of sort of mid-century ceramics that I've collected, most from little shops and a good deal from Etsy. The side tables we have paired with the sofa are also mid-century Danish. I found these at the Long Beach flea market for a really great deal. They have enamel tops that are gold and sort of like play with the pops of color that we have going on. Flea market finds, I would say you need to do a little bit of research in terms of what you're looking for. I seem to have a decent thrifting eye since I've been in the business for a long time, and I know what things are worth. So I'd say do a little research in terms of what you're looking for and go from there. These pillows, this one's from Soho Home. I was drawn to it just because it's not quite ochre, not green. It's a really unique color, paired with this pillow cover that I got in India when I went for a friend's wedding. The color story in here is sort of based on this art that is from a Houston-born artist where my husband is from. It sort of set the tone for the entire space in terms of the subtle color pops that we have going on with the carpet, the pillows, and the accessories. This carpet is fairly new for us. We loved that it was also an unusual color. It's from Nordic Knots, and it sort of helps ground the various pieces of furniture that we have in here. We were a little hesitant with the color, but it actually works really cool with the green of the sofa and the orange and leather of these chairs. In the corner, we have a silver war chest that was my dad's. It's sort of been passed down through our family. It oddly works with the shape of this room and like the Spanish feel. This piece I had, but in terms of small spaces, hidden things are usually good, like this tall bookcase, open storage versus closed storage, so you have about a 50-50 shift. Over here we have mid-century Danish lounge chair that I found almost 15 years ago on Craigslist for like $50, and it came with this ottoman. Again, it's about knowing what things are worth, and this is worth like 5 times that, so it's pretty cool when you find things unique. This fireplace is definitely the focal point of this room. It's the first thing you see when you walk in. I got this mirror from West Elm. I love the unique shape and the mid-century nod, and the scale of it works pretty well on this mantle. It's paired with these vintage IKEA candle holders that I found in a small antique store in Florida, and then some more ColourPop ceramics that I got on Etsy, and sort of ties the color story together. This is the TV area. Not super interesting in terms of design elements, but I made this by hand almost 20 years ago. It was scaled perfectly for the space that I had then, but it actually works really well to fill this little niche. And we paired it with some art that we've collected, like this piece from Palm Springs and this little ceramic thing from a flea market. We had this idea to sort of make this niche a little bit more interesting. We got a frame TV and sort of went with the idea of creating this little gallery wall of pieces we've collected and found interesting. This is our little bar area. This is actually on a table that my great-grandmother got for her wedding gift, so it's well over 115 years old. And it's paired with a lamp that my mom had found in Ireland that's handmade ceramic. Also playing with the colors we have going on in here. Now let me show you the kitchen. This is the kitchen in our home. We realized that the idea of small spaces is really helped when you think vertically. There's not many cabinets in this kitchen, so we put this little mug hanging situation on the wall, basically to display vintage pieces, vintage mugs that I've collected. It's also very practical. This transition was really a little design element for us. We put some peel and stick wallpaper on this transition as well as the one to the bedroom. It really helps elevate the depth between spaces. It sort of reflects a gold leaf aspect, adding a little bit of detail in a very easy way. In here, the first thing we did in our apartment was put up this peel and stick wallpaper from Target before we had any furniture in here. The goal was to sort of balance the boldness of the checkerboard floor, but also sort of tone down the black and white scheme that was in here before. So it adds color and pattern, and then that led us to paint this really bold color on the ceiling, which actually helps ground the space and adds a lot of detail in a subtle way. We also swapped out a lot of light fixtures in this apartment. This one is super affordable from Amazon, and it just gives a nice cast of light, more mood lighting, and a little bit of practicality. In terms of our dual work from home workspaces, this is my area. We decided to make a priority in terms of working from home versus having a dining area, just because it works best for our life. I am an interior designer, so I have lots of samples, so vertical storage again was really important. This is a super affordable piece from Wayfair that actually looks pretty elevated in here against this really cool wallpaper. We had painted this wall black because it sort of helped balance the height of these cabinets on this side instead of keeping it white as it was. This little bookcase that I have is also vintage that my dad found maybe 30 years ago, and it actually holds my book collection perfectly. I do love to cook in this space. Even though it's really small, it's perfectly functional. I have my Le Creuset collection that I love to use. In terms of lighting, we swapped out these lights and then we added this battery sconce to the wall. It adds function, but also another layer of mood lighting. I'm a vegetarian, so I love cooking a bunch of Mexican dishes, pastas, some Italian recipes from my family. It makes this space a little bit fun to use. This sign above me is a wedding gift from my mom. She handmade it, stained it, painted it, and I felt this was actually the perfectly scaled space to hold it. And I am in this room probably the most, and I love to see it. The style of this home is a bungalow, and it's about 540 square feet. Like I said, you start in this sort of relatively good sized living room. No separate entry, but it's a little grand space to enter to. And then you could go off the hallway, which is the bedroom and the bathroom, and then the other side is the kitchen. I think what gives a home a soul is the layered collection that you bring to it. When each piece has a special interest or a special meaning, it makes the space show your personality and completes it. The one thing I love about this home is the amount of natural light from all the windows. There's windows on every single wall, so it feels like a blessing from moving out here from an apartment with one window. You've seen the kitchen and you've seen the living room. Let's take a peek at the bathroom before heading to the bedroom. This is our super tiny bathroom. We were really drawn to it for the vintage tile from the 1920s. And to pair with that, we chose to paint the ceiling this sort of gray-green. It also brings down the height to a more comfortable level and sort of plays out the scale in the space. We also added this linen shower curtain as a complementary color, and it really works well with the vintage pieces of art that I have. Like this one is from my grandma. She painted it probably 70 years ago, and it feels like it was made for this space in terms of color. We also found this perfectly sized storage solution, since that is a main feature in this home, and it fits perfectly well beside the toilet. Now we'll go check out the bedroom. Before we enter the bedroom, this is a sort of small hallway that we tried to add some character to. We also painted the ceiling a rust color in here to add sort of play with the color story we have going on. And it works really well with this mid-century embroidery piece that we have. It's actually from Mad Men, the show, and it's sort of like a real nod to the mid-century aesthetic that I love. Next to the painting is this existing built-in niche. We also loved the character. This is one of the pieces that drew us to the apartment. To play up the character, we added peel and stick wallpaper tiles on the back, and peel and stick wallpaper that's a faux wood to this top to make it feel more like a countertop, paired with a few vintage pieces that I found, a cocktail books collection, and a little bar setup. Going into the bedroom, there's these two runners that we found. They're woven leather from Target. Very simple color, but adds a nice texture to the floor. Also, this transition, like the kitchen, we did peel and stick gold wallpaper to play with the transitions from in and out of the room and add a little bit of reflectivity. In the bedroom, playing with the overall theme of small space, we kind of decided against painting in here to keep it bright and airy. The bed takes up most of the space. It's from CB2, and it's sort of a reeded walnut wood. That's paired with these two bedside tables that I found in someone's trash maybe 20 years ago. I painted them and swapped out the hardware. And then we found these marble pieces from Crate and Barrel. They're actually supposed to be used for baking, but they fit the tops of these really nicely. The bedding is from Kintz, and it's linen. We have two sets, blue and green, sort of the color story in this space. The bedspread is also linen that I got on Etsy for a really good deal, and it's perfect for our bed. The pillow sort of ties all the colors together. It's from Soho Home. above the bed, going again with the vertical storage idea, just a sort of display shelf adds more of the collection of our books and the projector that we use. So in here, since the floor space is limited and the wall space is primarily for art, we decided to have a projector that we can project right onto this wall. And for small spaces, it's great. It takes up less space than having a credenza with a TV or a wall-mounted television. Over here in this corner, I have this grandfather clock that my dad had made for his dad, my grandpa, after he passed. And this is probably 40 years old. Throughout the house, it's nice to have some family heirloom pieces. Right here we have another painting from my grandmother. She was an avid painter, and I have a few of her pieces throughout the house. She loved florals, sort of a Victorian era aesthetic. And above that is this sconce. We have two of these in the bedroom, and it's actually from Amazon, but I loved it because it sort of feels like a vintage French rope sconce. My family is definitely creative. My dad's side is more of the artistic painting, carpentry world, and my mom's is more crafting and crocheting and things like that. I've always loved creating space that feels good, like that you feel something when you walk into. I originally went to school for interior architecture and realized the design side of it was more fulfilling. My go-to design tip would be to follow your gut in the design sense. Try not to overthink what other people would say about your space. You're living in it, and it has to make you happy. Before you go, Homeworthy, I'd love to show you this patio that we have off the back of the apartment. This was another really huge selling point for this apartment, is this view and being able to have an outdoor space, even though it's super, super tiny. We found this mosaic table and chair set from Amazon, and that's where we started. And then we found this super affordable carpet from Target that really completes this space. I love to garden, and without having a yard, we found this planter, just has some herbs, and it really creates a nice scene to have an evening dinner. What home means to me is a sense of comfort, and where you can feel a sense of relief and release from your daily life, surrounded yourself with beautiful things and people you love. Thank you so much for coming, Homeworthy, but I have to go design my next project. See you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.